Hello, this is Joey Reynolds in a child's garden of controversy about Donald Trump. We have to put the lid on the Donald Trump sewer. I've been known as the father of shock jocks. Now, what we used to do is we'd get on the radio in those days. Joe Pine did it on television famously in Los Angeles. He got so bad that one day he had a wooden leg, and this is a true story. Joe got so mad at one of the guests that he took his leg off and started pounding the guy on Channel 5. Now that's a true story. In my dilemma, I wanted to be famous. So what you do is you act out, and I always liked the people, never liked the management, which is still the case. I still think management is all about protecting CYA, cover your ass. Now what I was doing is I was trying to get to the public, and I do get to the public very easily. All you got to do is talk to them and tell them the truth. And that's what Trump learned. And I used to know him when I was on WNBC in New York, and he was a guest with Don Imus, who was one of those guys. But I did what I was doing years ago in the 60s, and Howard Stern came along later. What I did when I got fired in Buffalo, I had the #1 rating in the country for a few years. I had like a 60 share rating, which gives you an idea. At the height of Howard Stern, he had like an 8 or a 10. So it was a different time in history. Anyway, when I got fired, I was so arrogant, I nailed my shoes to the door of the general manager and I said, "Fill these, you asshole." And that guy became the president of ABC, so it wasn't really wasn't my best move. I never suffered from it. I never apologized for it. And Trump won't apologize for what he's done. I don't think he's talking about menstruation. He's talking about bleeding from the eyes. I always say when I see something I don't like, I bleed from the eyes. But I don't know that because you're saying it to a girl, it's being misinterpreted. And also you got somebody who's on a defense mechanism. I didn't have that kind of there was nobody who gave me a fight back in those days, because you stand there, and the only time I ever got anybody who was mad at me was Tom Donahue at a Billboard convention. Protected me from someone who pied me because they thought that I was outrageous and out of line. So they threw a pie in my face. I even have a picture of that. You take your chances when you're honest with people. People have a certain way of believing something, and our belief systems are intact until somebody rattles our cage, and then we realize that we have to break through. And that's what we do. I mean, I'm not apologizing for Donald Trump. I'm just merely saying to you he's following what we all knew. Howard Stern did it. At one time, Regis Philbin did it in a softer way. Oprah Winfrey did it. We're called personalities, and we have come through on the air by saying things that we believe, and also they're the things that we think the public wants to hear, and we get famous for it. So that's the payoff. And when you're famous like that, you're open for criticism. So that's what's going on. I mean, the guy is staying on top of his game, and I'm just explaining to you how that goes, because I think there's a misunderstanding. The media is like a lobster. When it is hungry, it eats its own claw. That's how I look at the media, and that's why I want to change it. I want a triple cast, radio, television, internet, so we can create a balance for people to come between and learn from our personalities and take what you need and run with it, and not be fed some ideology. That's the problem. We're getting fed one little kind of view, and it gets fed and fed and fed because the owners of the companies are the people who really believe in this view. That's the truth of it. But as Jack Nicholson said famously, you don't want to hear the truth. I'm still looking for a few good men and women. It's a Reynolds rap.